The Crimson Betrayal. The Nexus station hung in the void like a crystalline jewel, its massive rings rotating slowly against the backdrop of distant stars. For the first time in 3 decades, a human ship approached its docking base. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the observation deck of the Earth vessel Harmony, watching as alien ships from across the galaxy formed a defensive perimeter around the station. Her reflection in the viewport showed a woman in her 50s, silver-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing Earth's formal diplomatic robes of deep blue with golden threading. "Quite the reception committee," muttered Captain Zahra al-Rashid, joining Elena at the viewport. The military attache's hand rested instinctively on her sidearm. The weapons were forbidden in the neutral zone. Elena smiled grimly. 30 years of isolation tends to make one unpopular at galactic parties. Behind them, Dr. Sarah Kim looked up from her datapad, her analytical mind already processing the political implications. Intelligence reports show representatives from all major powers are present. The Zephyrian Empire, the crystalline hegemony, the void-touched collective, even the rarely seen ethereal consortium. "And they all have one thing in common," Elena replied, turning from the viewport. "They don't want humanity in their exclusive club." The docking procedure took 2 hours, each moment filled with bureaucratic delays and security screenings that bordered on harassment. When Elena finally stepped onto Nexus Station, she was greeted by a sea of alien faces, some curious, others hostile, all calculating. The station's artificial atmosphere carried the scent of ozone and exotic spices, while translator devices hummed softly in the background, converting dozens of languages into comprehensible speech. High Regent Xalthera of the Zephyrian Empire approached first. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, his scaled hide gleamed with metallic silver patterns, and his 4 arms moved with fluid grace. His species had ruled the eastern sectors for over a millennium, and his contempt for humanity was poorly concealed behind diplomatic courtesy. "Ambassador Vasquez," he said, his voice carrying harmonics that made human ears ache. "How unexpected to see Terra finally emerge from its quarantine." "High Regent," Elena replied with a respectful bow. "Earth appreciates the Confederation's willingness to finally hear our petition for membership." Xalthera's laugh was like grinding metal. "Petition? How quaint. Tell me, Ambassador, what makes humanity believe it deserves a seat among civilizations that have traversed the stars for millennia, while you were still fighting with stone tools?" Before Elena could respond, Minister Vokhtar of the crystalline hegemony interjected. His species appeared as living gemstones, light refracting through their bodies in beautiful, hypnotic patterns. "Perhaps we should allow the humans to present their case before we dismiss them entirely." The next 6 hours were a carefully orchestrated humiliation. Elena presented humanity's achievements: the rapid technological advancement, the successful terraforming of Mars, the peaceful unification of Earth's nations, and the development of clean energy that had ended resource wars. She spoke of humanity's desire to contribute to galactic civilization, to share knowledge and culture. Each point was systematically dismantled by the alien representatives. They questioned humanity's violent history, their recent arrival on the galactic stage, their limited understanding of advanced technologies. Elena weathered each attack with grace, providing counter-arguments and evidence, but she could feel the tide turning against her. "The truth," Xalthera declared as the session neared its end, "is that humanity represents a threat to galactic stability. Your species is too unpredictable, too aggressive, too primitive." Elena stood, her voice carrying across the chamber. "High Regent, if I may address your concerns directly. Yes, humanity has a violent past. But so do most species that achieve interstellar capability. The Zephyrians themselves conquered 17 systems before joining the Confederation. The difference is that we learned from our mistakes before reaching the stars, not after." A murmur ran through the chamber. Several smaller species representatives nodded thoughtfully. Elena pressed her advantage. "We're not asking for charity or special treatment. We're offering partnership. Earth's scientists have made breakthrough discoveries in quantum mechanics and biological sciences. Our artists have created works that speak to universal experiences of loss, hope, and triumph. Our philosophers have grappled with questions of existence and meaning that transcend species barriers. For a moment, Alina thought she might have swayed them. Then, Zalthara's expression hardened. "Enough theatrics," he snarled. "Security has informed me that human agents have been detected infiltrating Confederation networks, stealing technology, and conducting illegal surveillance operations." Alina's blood ran cold. "That's impossible. Earth has strict protocols. Are you calling me a liar?" Zalthara's four hands moved to the ceremonial weapons at his sides. "I'm saying there must be a misunderstanding." Alina replied carefully. "If you have evidence of these alleged activities, I request a formal hearing where Earth can respond to specific charges." "The evidence is overwhelming," Minister Vokhtar added, his crystalline form pulsing with agitated colors. "Data cores stolen from research stations, communication networks compromised, military installations surveilled. The pattern is clear." Alina felt the weight of the moment. Everything humanity had worked toward for decades was crumbling around manufactured accusations. She could see Captain Al-Rashid tensing at the edge of the diplomatic area. Dr. Kim frantically working her communication device to contact Earth. "High Regent," Alina said, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. "I swear on behalf of Earth and its people that we have conducted no such operations. If evidence exists, it has been fabricated to prevent humanity from joining the galactic community." Zalthara's laugh was cruel. "Fabricated? How typically human, to blame others for your deceptions when caught." He gestured, and Zephyrian guards moved forward, their energy weapons humming to life. Alina raised her hands, showing she was unarmed. "This is a violation of diplomatic immunity," she declared. "I am an accredited ambassador under Confederation law." "Laws that don't apply to species that aren't members," Zalthara replied. "And after today, humanity never will be." The execution was swift and brutal. Zalthara's personal weapon, a plasma rifle that incinerated its target on contact, reduced Alina Vasquez to atoms in less than a second. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of Captain Al-Rashid's anguished cry and Dr. Kim's shocked gasp. Across the galaxy, the execution was broadcast live to every inhabited system. On Earth, Admiral Marcus Chen stood in the Strategic Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching his longtime friend and colleague die on screens throughout the facility. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the command rail. "Sir," whispered Colonel Janet Torres, his aide-de-camp. "Orders." Chen remained silent for a long moment, watching as alien representatives in the Nexus station chamber began filing out, their business concluded. Some looked satisfied, others uncomfortable, but none protested the summary execution of Earth's ambassador. "Activate Protocol Omega," Chen said quietly. Torres hesitated. "Sir, that's the Annihilation Protocol. Are you certain?" Chen turned to face the room full of officers and analysts, all watching him with a mixture of horror and anticipation. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of a man who had spent 40 years defending humanity from threats both terrestrial and cosmic. "They wanted to see what humans do when cornered," he said. "Dr. Kim, I assume you recorded everything." Dr. Kim, her face streaked with tears, nodded. "Every word, every gesture. I've already transmitted the data to all our deep space monitoring stations." "Good. Let the galaxy see exactly what they've done before they see what we do about it." Chen walked to the central command console and placed his palm on the biometric scanner. "Authorization Alpha 77. Admiral Marcus Chen. Protocol Omega is now active." Across Earth's solar system, hidden installations that had been dormant for decades began powering up. On the dark side of the moon, massive communication arrays turned toward distant stars. In the asteroid belt, Disguised mining platforms revealed their true nature as military staging areas. And throughout human space, ships that had been conducting routine scientific missions began converging on predetermined coordinates. "How long?" Chen asked. 72 hours to full deployment," replied Commander Jake Morrison, head of Earth's Black Operations Division. His scarred face showed grim satisfaction. "Phase 1 assets are already in position throughout Confederation space." Chen nodded. Elena Vasquez had been his protege, his friend, and Earth's greatest hope for peaceful integration into galactic society. Her death had just signed the Confederation's death warrant, though they didn't know it yet. "Send a message to all human colonies and outposts," Chen ordered. "As of this moment, Earth is at war, not with armies or fleets, but with the very foundations of their civilization. They wanted to judge us by our past. Let's show them our future." The transmission went out on quantum channels that the Confederation couldn't detect, much less intercept. Across human space, sleeper agents who had lived double lives for decades began activating. Scientists who had spent years studying alien technology prepared to turn their knowledge into weapons. Diplomats who had been rebuffed and humiliated by alien governments began implementing contingency plans that had been decades in the making. The galaxy had made its judgment of humanity. Now humanity would return the favor. The silent storm. 72 hours after Ambassador Elena Vasquez's execution, the first signs of humanity's response began to manifest across the galaxy. But these weren't the massive fleet deployments or declaration of war that the Confederation expected. Instead, alien civilizations began experiencing a series of seemingly unrelated technical difficulties that would soon reveal themselves as the most sophisticated campaign of systematic destruction in galactic history. Admiral Marcus Chen stood in Earth's Strategic Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the status of operations across 50 star systems. Each display represented years of preparation, decades of patient infiltration, and the activation of humanity's greatest secret. They had never been as isolated as the galaxy believed. "Status report," Chen commanded. Commander Jake Morrison stepped forward, his expression grim but satisfied. "Phase 1 is complete across all target zones. Zephyrian Empire communication networks are experiencing cascading failures. Their military command structure is blind in 17 sectors." Dr. Sarah Kim, now serving as Earth's intelligence coordinator, added her report. "The crystalline hegemony's central banking system is locked in recursive calculation loops. Every financial transaction they attempt creates exponential processing delays. Their economy is effectively frozen." "And the void-touched collective?" Chen asked. "Their bioships are suffering from engineered viral infections," Morrison replied with dark satisfaction. "Nothing fatal to the crews, but their organic technology is degrading at an accelerated rate. They'll be dead in space within a week." Chen nodded, studying the tactical displays. Humanity's strategy wasn't built on brute force, but on precision and patience. For 30 years, while the galaxy ignored Earth, human agents had been infiltrating alien societies, not as conquerors or spies, but as contributors. Human scientists had helped develop alien technologies. Human engineers had built alien infrastructure. Human programmers had written alien software. Now every gift humanity had given was being turned into a weapon. "Sir," called Lieutenant Commander Sarah Hayes from the communication station. "We're receiving distress signals from the Nexus station. Multiple system failures, life support fluctuating, artificial gravity unstable." "The station where they murdered Elena," Chen said quietly. "Coincidence?" "No, sir," Dr. Kim replied. "Specialist Rodriguez has been working in their environmental systems for 18 months. Everything failing is something a human helped build." Chen felt a cold satisfaction. Let them call for help. Let them beg their allies for support. They'll find that their allies are dealing with their own problems. The reports continued flowing in. The ethereal consortium's energy-based life forms were experiencing harmonic disruptions that left them unable to maintain cohesion. The silicon hegemony's quantum computers were trapped in logic paradoxes that prevented them from processing anything more complex than basic arithmetic. Even the smallest Confederation members were discovering that systems they depended on were failing in ways that seemed impossible to fix. But Chen's masterpiece wasn't the technical failures. It was the revelation that followed. Phase 2 is ready for implementation, Morrison announced. All evidence packages prepared for simultaneous release. Chen studied the master display one more time. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations were struggling with infrastructure failures they couldn't explain or repair. Their military forces were hampered by communication breakdowns and equipment malfunctions. Their economies were grinding to a halt as essential systems refused to function. Execute Phase 2, Chen ordered. Across the galaxy, every major news network, communication system, and data repository suddenly received the same massive file package. The contents were devastating. Complete records of the conspiracy to frame humanity, authenticated communications between alien leaders planning Alina's execution, financial records showing bribes paid to ensure human exclusion from the Confederation, and most damning of all, recordings of alien officials laughing about humanity's naivety in believing they would ever be accepted as equals. On the crystalline homeworld of Luxus Prime, Minister Vokhtar's own words echoed through every public communication channel. The humans are too trusting, too hopeful. They actually believe in galactic unity and cooperation. It's almost pitiable. When we're done with them, they'll retreat to their little system and never bother us again. In the Zephyrian capital, High Regent Salfara's private communications were broadcast on every screen and holographic display. The human ambassador's death will serve as an example to any species that thinks they can challenge the established order. Let them see what happens to those who don't know their place. But the most damaging revelations came from the smaller species, the ones who had remained silent during Alina's execution. Their private communications revealed a mixture of fear, greed, and calculation. Some had been bribed, others threatened, but all had chosen their own survival over justice. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Across the galaxy, civilian populations who had watched Alina's execution with discomfort now saw it for what it truly was, not justice, but murder born of fear and prejudice. Protests erupted on dozens of worlds. Space lanes were blocked by civilian vessels demanding answers from their governments. The carefully maintained unity of the Confederation began cracking under the weight of revealed corruption. Reports coming in from all sectors. Dr. Kim announced, civil unrest on 47 Confederation worlds. 3 member species have withdrawn from mutual defense pacts. The Nexus station has been evacuated due to continuing system failures. Chen allowed himself a small smile. And our human assets. Safe and extracted, Morrison confirmed. 30 years of deep cover operations concluded successfully. 0 casualties. Now comes the interesting part, Chen said. He activated the galaxy-wide communication system that humanity had secretly built over the past 3 decades, piggybacking on alien networks while remaining completely invisible. His image appeared on screens across the galaxy, a weathered human in military uniform, standing in what was clearly a highly advanced command center. Behind him, holographic displays showed the scope of humanity's capabilities, the extent of their infiltration, and the precision of their current operations. People of the galaxy, Chen began, his voice carrying to every inhabited world. I am Admiral Marcus Chen of Earth's Strategic Command. 3 days ago, you watched as your leaders murdered our ambassador in cold blood. Today, you've seen the evidence of their conspiracy, their corruption, and their contempt for justice. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. You've also experienced the consequences of underestimating humanity. Every system failure, every network crash, every infrastructure breakdown you've suffered was caused by humans. Not through sabotage or terrorism, but by withdrawing our contributions to your civilization. On Zephyrian warships, human-designed targeting systems went offline. In crystalline banks, Human-programmed security protocols locked down all accounts. Across Confederation space, the alien civilizations that had dismissed humanity as primitive were discovering how dependent they had become on human innovation. For 30 years, Chen continued, you kept us isolated while secretly benefiting from our knowledge. Our scientists solved your medical problems. Our engineers improved your infrastructure. Our artists enriched your culture. And when we asked only for recognition, for the chance to contribute openly to galactic civilization, you responded with lies, conspiracy, and murder. The communication network carried his words to the farthest reaches of known space, bypassing government censors and official channels. But humanity is not interested in conquest or revenge. We seek justice and recognition. The systematic failures you're experiencing will continue until our demands are met. First, the immediate resignation and prosecution of those involved in Ambassador Vasquez's murder. Second, full acknowledgement of humanity's contributions to galactic civilization. Third, immediate membership in the Confederation with full rights and representation. Chen's expression hardened. You have 72 hours to comply. If these demands are not met, Phase 3 will commence, and you will discover that what you've experienced so far was merely humanity showing restraint. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Within hours, emergency sessions were called on every major world. The Zephyrian Empire's ruling council met in crisis session as their military reported widespread equipment failures. The crystalline hegemony's financial ministers watched helplessly as their economy remained frozen. Smaller species found themselves caught between their fear of the major powers and their growing respect for humanity's capabilities. But it was the civilian populations that drove the final change. Across the galaxy, beings who had lived under the Confederation's rigid hierarchy for centuries suddenly saw an alternative. Humanity hadn't conquered through force or intimidation. They had simply withdrawn their cooperation, and entire civilizations had ground to a halt. The message was clear. The galaxy needed humanity far more than humanity needed the galaxy. Exactly 71 hours and 37 minutes after Chen's ultimatum, the emergency session of the Confederation Council reached its decision. High Regent Xalthera and Minister Vokhtar were stripped of their positions and handed over for prosecution. The conspiracy to exclude humanity was officially acknowledged and condemned. And in a unanimous vote that would have been impossible just days earlier, Earth was granted immediate membership in the Galactic Confederation with full rights and a permanent seat on the ruling council. Admiral Chen received the news in the same command center where he had watched Elena Vasquez die. Around him, his staff waited for orders, ready to implement Phase 3 if necessary. Instead, Chen activated the restoration protocols. Across the galaxy, human-built systems came back online. Networks resumed functioning, infrastructure stabilized, and the crisis ended as suddenly as it had begun. But the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had proven that true power didn't come from weapons or threats, but from being indispensable. They had shown that underestimating them came with consequences that could topple civilizations without firing a single shot. Elena Vasquez's sacrifice had not been in vain. Her death had become the catalyst for humanity's rise from pariah to galactic superpower, achieved not through conquest, but through the simple demonstration of what the galaxy lost when they chose fear over cooperation. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human leadership had begun.